Alright, so this video is about my spiritual awakening experience and what I wish I had known beforehand. A lot of people have this misguided notion that a spiritual awakening experience is this really blissful, light, fun time in your life where you're just discovering all these new things about yourself and the world. But in reality, it can often be shaking, and it can often be terrifying. Basically, your whole conception about the world around you and even yourself is being torn apart. I know when I went through mine, it took me through a loop. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know the world around me and what life was even about. There are so many things that I wish I had known going into my own experience beforehand that I didn't have, that I wasn't aware of. So for other people that are starting to enter into this experience that I had to endure in a way, I want you to know these things on the off chance that you may find it helpful, that it may help you navigate this more easily, and so that you understand what you're going through is actually normal. Because at the time I didn't think so. And in reality, when everything seemed so crazy and chaotic, everything was actually right and in line. The first thing I wish that I had known was that the spiritual awakening experience is actually a journey inward and not outward. Alright, when you first start this thing, you may search in your external environment trying to find answers, trying to figure that your fulfillment, your reward system, and your explanations of even what's going on with this whole thing is coming outside of yourself. But honestly, what this experience is happening, why this is going on, is it's asking you to go inward. It's asking you to go into your physical, mental, and emotional states and find out what's preventing you from being the best version of yourself. So how do we become the best version of ourselves? Well, that takes us to the next thing that I wish I had known before my spiritual awakening experience, which is that these awakening experiences, because that's what they are, they're awakening you. They're waking you up from the slumber and the sleep that has been of you not knowing the reality and truth of your life. And what does that cause you to do? Well, it causes you to go into your pain, not away from it and not around it. We continuously put up masks, we continuously put up walls around from that deep inner wounds that we hold within us every single day. Now we find tons of outlets, tons of distractions, tons of defense mechanisms to hide ourselves from these things. But when you enter into a spiritual awakening experience, it's not asking you to take yourself outside of your body, but it's asking yourself to go deeper and to find those areas that hurt and to go in and heal those parts of yourself. So the third thing that I wish I had known before I had my spiritual awakening experience is that it may feel like your entire life is falling apart, everything is being torn down, but in reality, everything is actually being rebuilt. So for myself, right before my experience happened, I felt like I finally got into where I wanted to be in my life. All right, I was a troubled kid. I came from a very traumatic and abusive background, like many people who go through these experiences too. And somehow I pulled it all together. And I went from being someone who barely graduated high school to getting into a top law school with a near full scholarship. It felt like I finally had everything I had wanted. And before I knew it, this whole experience took hold of me, and the law school thing did not work out. I lost all money that I had. I was in a new place without any of my old friends. I would just look and I'd say, why is this happening to me, right? But it was happening for me. I know I would hear that saying so much and it would sound so corny and generic, but it's true. It is. I was out of alignment. I was trying to prove things to other people. I was trying to show people, hey, I'm smart. Hey, the reason why I was such a screw up or had drug issues when I was younger was because of my background. I was doing everything for everyone else, but not for myself. This process blows up your life because it needs to be blown up. Realize that. So if you lose a job, if you lose a relationship, just realize there's something deeper going on. It wasn't for your best interest. You may not be able to see that now, but whatever's guiding us, whatever's looking after us, it sees the forest beneath the trees, or however the saying goes. So I know it's hard right now, but I promise you there is a light at the end of this tunnel. Fourth thing that I wish I had known. This one actually surprised me the most. For all of the insanity that an awakening experience brings into your life, you know, you hear awakening, you think, ooh, spirits and ghosts and all that fun stuff, but what really took me aback was how physical this process was. The awakening experience carries so many physical symptoms. Now, at some other point we can go into more in depth of what those physical symptoms actually are. But for me, I had head pressure. I had varying levels of extreme bouts of fatigue. I felt like I had moments where it felt like electricity was running through my body and I was being electrocuted. There were moments where I just felt foggy, like my head just could not center itself, all right? You're being grounded into a new reality almost. Your brain has to acquaint itself with it. So in this process, you may feel ungrounded. You may even hurt. You will feel physical pain. You will have your aches and pains. This is all part of an ascension process. It is perfectly normal. But just realize, this isn't just a mental and emotional battle. It's a physical one too. Fifth thing that I wish I had known, because if I had known this from the beginning, I probably wouldn't have fought it so hard. This process is very lonely. It is very isolating. So many changes are going on internally that the external needs to take a break for a little while. And so you may see friends fall away. You may see family members not fully understand what you're going through. They may be judging or critical. You don't need to be fully exposed to that while you're going through this. You just need to be with yourself. So you'll start to see all these people in your life naturally fall away for some time. And it's sad and it's frustrating. But know you're not doing anything wrong. It's nothing about you. This is a natural part of the process. And as you start to come out of it, old friends may come back and even new ones may come in. But just know that if you're feeling lonely right now, you're not alone, because there's so many others just like yourself. So the sixth thing I wish I had known before my spiritual awakening experience, because you gotta understand, I'm just gonna give you a little bit more background about myself. Before I came into this, I was very atheist. And I would hear people having spiritual experience and awakening experience. I'm like, okay, those woo-woo people need some mental health help, right? And then all my walls are coming down. I'm feeling like there's something guiding my life. There's something else out there, which was so crazy for me. Even my fiance had a hard time, like, what is going on with him? He used to laugh at people like this, right? Then I walk out of my apartment. Suddenly, seems what I see is energy vibrating off people, but I can see it. And then there's a tint of color to that energy. First thought is I need to go to a neurologist. I need to get this taken care of, okay? In actuality, there wasn't anything wrong with me. As you go through these experiences, as you go through these physical changes, right? You may open yourself up to different spectrums of light, different frequencies of sound. You may start perceiving things that others may not be able to perceive. Don't automatically think it means you're losing your mind. You might just be attaining higher states of consciousness, and with that comes some different things. So it takes time. It may be confusing at first, but eventually you learn how to be more in control of these things, and even how to harness them, and even how to shut them off through meditation and other means when they become uncomfortable. But yes, I did not believe in auras, and now I kind of do. One more thing before we move on to the next point was also, many people who go through these experiences are what I would call empathic, meaning that you are tapped into the energies of other people, almost to the point where you can't sense what is your energy and what's someone else's energy. Meaning, you don't know what's your feelings, what you're feeling at this present time, or what someone else is feeling. You can't differentiate between the two. Now, when you go through an awakening experience, that can be amplified. So if you're sitting next to someone who's anxious, you may start feeling really anxious. If you start sitting next to someone who's sad, you may start feeling really sad. Or if they're angry, you'll be angry. So what's really important with this experience is understanding that this is normal, but now we have to ground ourselves. Now we have to learn how to be within our space so we're not picking up the emotions and feelings of everyone else and just observing them. And that's part of this experience, and opening yourself up to more empathic abilities may be overwhelming initially, but I promise you it'll help you in the future. Your emotional intelligence will go up and you'll have a better understanding and be more compassionate for others while still being in your own space. Number 7 of things I wish I knew before my spiritual awakening experience. Synchronicities will begin to happen and they will increase in frequency. Now this really shattered any type of belief that I had that this isn't normal. What's happening to me is just in my mind. Because synchronicities, and I didn't even know the term when this whole process began, synchronicities are basically things that go beyond just being a coincidence. They happen at such a frequent rate that you can't even on a mathematical level, say this is just coincidence after coincidence after coincidence anymore. And I finally reached that point. So synchronicities, think of it in terms of like, you ask yourself, should I move to California? And you're all the way out in New York. And all of a sudden, 3 cars drive by with California license plates. Now think of an experience like that, and now think of something of that nature happening every single day, all right? Now as you go through this process, it will slow down, but these experiences happen to guide you on the right path. And it goes outside of just mere chance, all right? Number 8 thing that I wish I had known before my spiritual awakening experience, and this is one that I really struggle with a lot. The illusions of our world and your life will begin to fall away, and awareness of our greater reality will become much more potent, all right? Now, I remember telling myself and my friends when they're like, why are you resisting this so much? Because when we've lived in these illusions our entire lives, we are scared of how do we function without them. I know for myself that I pushed against what society had told me my entire life. They told me to get good grades. They told me to listen to the authority figures, and I didn't, okay? I pushed against it. I thought something was wrong as a young kid. I knew something was wrong. And then finally as an adult, I bought in. I got the straight A's. I got into the fancy law school. I cared about all the prestige and status and all of that. And now I was being told none of that mattered, that you're right from the beginning, that society is being led astray, that we aren't healing the inner self, that we aren't doing what fulfills the human spirit. That's tough. That's really difficult to recognize. The reward systems, the incentives that we use to guide our lives are flawed. And then we have to come into a greater awareness, into a reality, into truths that we've never been exposed to. Eventually you start to accept. And then the process begins of not only finding what truth is, but honestly, in finding what your truth is. Not letting others' perceptions of what's truth guide your own perceptions. You have to find out what really matters to you, and that's a difficult process because many of us haven't come from environments that allowed us to figure that out from a young age. But now you're being asked to. And to do that, we need to let a lot of the core belief systems that we have that aren't in alignment with our true selves go away. Number 9. And this is the last thing that I wish I had known before my spiritual awakening experience began. You start this experience and you ask yourself, what is this all about? Why is this happening? What is the ultimate goal in this? And if you were to tell me what it was at the beginning, I would have rolled my eyes. And in fact, I did roll my eyes. This experience is all about learning to love yourself, and subsequently learning to have unconditional love for everyone else in the world around you. You can't do that until you have self-love. And this process really, really helps you understand how little you may love yourself. I'm not talking about a narcissistic love here. I'm talking about a love in which you are not judgmental towards yourself, to which you don't talk down towards yourself, but you love yourself enough to also hold yourself accountable and responsible for how you treat your body, for how you treat the people in life, and for how you talk to yourself. I had no idea how little self-worth I had before this experience began. I had no idea how critical of myself I was. I had no idea that I didn't love myself. Now, am I full of self-love at this point? No, probably not, in all honesty. This is hard. This is difficult. We're not trained to love ourselves from a young age. Most of us are, right? Unfortunately. So it takes time. But do I love myself a lot more now than when this process began? Absolutely. And it's a true love. I don't hate myself like many of us do from the beginning of this, right? We do something wrong, we make a mistake, and we put ourselves down so much. That stopped for me. And as that stops for me, I'm able to look at other people. I'm able to not judge them so harshly. I'm going to say, maybe I don't know what their story is. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know what led them to this. Maybe all they want is compassion. Because that's all I ever wanted. All I ever wanted for myself was compassion. All the things I ever did was just a child crying out for compassion. And that's what this experience leads you into. It leads you into having compassion for yourself, which in turn leads to self-love, which in turn leads for unconditional love for others as well. And that's it. There's no Lamborghini, there's no Ferrari at the end of this process. It's just loving yourself and loving the people around you. All right, so those are the things that I wish I had known before I started my spiritual awakening experience. I hope that you guys were able to find this helpful. This is obviously my first video, and I will do more videos about the self-healing process and about the spiritual awakening process as well, among a host of other things. But I really hope this was able to help you guys, because I wish I had known these things headed in. And please feel free to comment below, click the subscribe button to this channel, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.